Good morning, beautiful, beautiful people. How are you guys doing today? Luffy, and I'm coming back to you guys again with another video. As you guys can see by the title of this video, I'm going to break down the HEROES Act for you guys, or at least the portions of the act that I think are relevant, what majority of you viewers want to see. So I'm going to cover things like unemployment, PPP, forbearance, student loans, small businesses, the Main Street Lending Program. I don't want to make this video too long, so let me just dive into it. I spent a lot of time yesterday getting this information for you guys. So if you guys appreciate it, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. All right, before I begin, I just want to say this is an 1,800-page bill. Obviously, I did not read the entirety of the bill, but I did spend about 2 to 3 hours skimming through the relevant details and the relevant sections so that I can give you guys the most accurate information, cross-referencing data with the CARES Act, with other small business acts, with the IRS tax code. There's a lot of information in this, okay? I would actually say half of this bill is stuff that does not pertain to the virus at all, okay? So bear with me if I get a few little things wrong or incorrect, or I don't have all the information on it. I tried to dive in as much as I could, but with that being said, let me actually begin. So starting right off the bat, unemployment. So you guys know CARES Act 1, it gave pandemic unemployment insurance up until July 31st. So you had 13 weeks of those $600 a month added benefit, $600 a week added benefit on top of your state benefits. Basically, this is trying to extend that until next year, January 31st of next year. One of the big caveats is that if you leave unemployment, you're no longer eligible for the pandemic unemployment insurance. So if you don't get off of unemployment, you'll pretty much, your benefits will continue. That $600 a week will continue until January 31st, potentially as late as March 31st of 2021. This is kind of interesting for me because right after that, they had some ruling or some wording of information on there that said that the income that you make from this pandemic unemployment insurance assistance, does not count towards your income limits for other federally backed programs like food assistance and public housing. So what I pretty much expect, if this bill passes, or if this portion of the bill passes as it's phrased, is that we'll end up seeing a lot of the lowest income earners moving unemployment unemployment as an additional form of government assistance. I'm not going to argue whether that's right or wrong, but you'll end up seeing a lot of people who live in public housing getting food stamps benefits, also getting like this $2,400 a week up until next year. Me personally, maybe it's a good thing, but hey, whatever. It is what it is. I'm just telling you guys what it is. All right, next thing, PPP. So this is actually pretty big. So they want to extend the covered period of the PPP from June 30th all the way until December 31st. So you guys remember earlier there was a period all the way until June 30th. There was like this where you had to 8-week period or so where you had to rehire all your employees. This was like the period that they base your forgiveness off of. We now want to extend that all the way to December 31st, or this is what the Democratic proposal in the HEROES Act suggests, that we extend it all the way until December 31st. There's also a provision in there that says that all money that comes back to the SBA, so all the money that's returned from these big companies that took PPP money, all of that gets reappropriated into new PPP funds that go specifically to small businesses with less than 10 employees. So just a little bit of vigilante, or not even vigilante, a little bit of justice, quote unquote, is being served on that front. Next topic, forbearance. Like I said, I'm going to try to move through these guys because there's a lot. But forbearance, it's a big one. So you guys know the original CARES Act, you could apply for forbearance. There's no foreclosures or evictions. What they want to do now is pretty much no foreclosures at all across the board, whether you have a federally backed mortgage or not, until 180 days, so like 6 months after the pandemic is declared over. all of the fees that you would be paying, there is no fees for taking on forbearance, but all of the costs that you would have paid during the forbearance period, it just gets moved to the end of your loan. Your lender has to give you that as an option. This is all what they're saying. There's an automatic 60-day forbearance. So if you haven't paid for 60 days or 60 days delinquent, you just automatically enter into forbearance, and your lender actually has to give you the option to extend that. You can request to extend that up to an additional 180 days, all the way up to 1 year. So you're allowed to request up to 1 year of forbearance. And this actually works not just on federally backed loans, like what was in the original HEREOS Act, but this is actually on any credit transaction that's secured by a 1 to 4 unit property. All right, so this includes hard money loans. This includes private loans. If you took out any sort of credit and it's secured by a deed of trust, or it's secured by, in some way, it's secured by a 1 to 4 unit real estate asset, right? So we're not talking necessarily commercial real estate, right? We're not talking commercial real estate. Maybe there was a portion in there that addressed commercial real estate that I missed, but from what I read, it was 1 to 4 units. Any credit transaction across 1 to 4 units is covered. All right, moving on from forbearance and foreclosure. So big things there. Pretty much no evictions, no evictions for at least a year for non-payment of rent. Very specific, for non-payment of rent. You can get evicted for something else. And trust me, people will use that. I'm just throwing it out there. So next thing, big thing, student loans. So they want to forgive, quote unquote, student loans. What they're pretty much authorizing is for the treasury to step in. Anyone who has any form of student loan debt, the treasury will pay your bill as it's already arranged. You can't go in and be like, oh, I want to take out a 1 year $30,000 loan. No, whatever you already had set up, they're just going to follow that payment plan all the way and make the payments for you. No negative credit reporting all the way until September of 2021. Okay, so they allocated $45 billion for this. Student loan debt is like almost $1 trillion, but that's the total outstanding balance of student loan debt. This is just going to be making the monthly payments on that debt until September 2021. So this might be enough money. I have no idea. Just being completely honest, I didn't do the math, but I know that student loan debt is almost $1 trillion and they allocated $45 billion, but they're also only making the payments. They're not paying the balance in full. And they're only paying up to $10,000 per person, which sounds to me like if you got student loan debt, this sounds like a free $10,000, up to $10,000 reprieve based off of whatever you had set up. All right, next thing, small businesses, and I'm pretty much gonna end it by talking about the rest of the video about small businesses. So there's small business debt relief written in this bill. And this is actually, I was reading it and it's crazy to me. And not in a bad or a good way, but I never knew that something like this could be possible. They want to freeze all debt given to small businesses. So anyone that's not a mortgage payment. So anyone who gave any sort of corporate debt, right? Any sort of business debt, all of that debt now just gets moved to the end of your loan. So if I had a 5-year corporate debt paying $2,000 a month, it gets frozen for it's frozen until the end of the pandemic plus 4 months. And then whatever I didn't pay gets moved to the end of my loan. So if I was paying $2,000 a month on a 5-year note for some corporate debt that I took out to run my business, it gets moved to the end of my loan. No fees, no higher interest rate, no interest charged for it or anything like that. It's pretty much just a huge pause button on all corporate debt for small businesses in America. No documentation necessary. All you have to do is request it. Hey, we need to pause. We need to freeze our debt payments for our business. No documentation required. I don't know how that's going to play out. But very interesting proposal. And then moving on, Main Street lending. This one is actually, I think, is one of those like it's like a dark horse proposal. I know everyone's going to be talking about unemployment. They're probably going to be talking about PPP. Of course, they're going to be talking about the additional $1,200 per individual. All that is headline parts of the bill. This is something that was kind of just thrown in there, and I would assume 99% of people are kind of just going to overlook it. And I actually hope it makes its way into the final iteration of this bill and become law. So what they're proposing pretty much is that the Main Street Lending Program, if you guys remember, the Main Street Lending Program was that Fed program, the Federal Reserve program that allowed for loans, basically to Main Street companies, 4-year loans, starting at $500,000 and moving up. And they've given some new rules and guidelines over the past couple weeks or so. They've now have 3 different loan programs. One of the biggest issues for like smaller businesses, because they say it's geared for small and mid-sized businesses, when really it's geared towards more middle-sized businesses. Small cap, off of a stock market perspective, but small business off of a real life perspective. So they're gearing this more towards I would consider them Main Street businesses. So minimum loan size $500,000 on a 4-year maturity. It's about 3-4% over LIBOR, which is about 0% now. So about 3-4% interest rate on a 4-year note for $500,000 is about $11,000 a year. A month, which is just not doable for a majority of businesses. What they're saying now is that the Main Street Lending Program has to offer at least one option that has no minimum loan amount. So before it was $500,000, so your minimum payment would have been $11,000 a month, but they're proposing that now there'll be one of those programs that will have no minimum loan amount. Now, Main Street Lending Program, just another caveat, because I don't want other people to hear this and say, oh, okay, perfect, there's going to be another lending opportunity for small businesses. Yes, if this passes, there will be. I want to throw something else on there. The Main Street Lending Program isn't guaranteed in the same way that the PPP is. All right. So if you qualified for PPP, you're supposed to get it. Just because you qualify for Main Street Lending Program doesn't mean that a lender has to give it to you. That's the short of it. But it is good news that the government does notice that the Main Street Lending Program could help out smaller businesses if it eliminated that minimum. I for sure can't right now necessarily pay $11,000 a month on a $500,000 note, but if they let me take out $100,000, I wouldn't mind paying that. What is that, $2,000 or $3,000 or however much it is a month. So this does definitely give more options to small businesses if it passes. So like I said, guys, I wanted to make this short because there's so much in this bill. It's an 1,800-page bill. So if anyone told you that they read the whole thing, they're fucking lying. I spent, like I said, like 3 hours or so just trying to hit some of the high topics and high points so that I could share with you guys. And if you guys appreciated that, then I'd appreciate if you guys subscribe to my channel and like the video. Comment down below and tell me what else you guys want me to talk about. What are your thoughts actually on these different things? I've talked about unemployment, PPP, forbearance, student loans, small businesses. Obviously the $1,200 a month checks, or not a month, $1,200 one-time checks. Which of these proposals in the bill do you guys think is most likely to go through, and which ones do you think are least likely to go through? Congressional Republicans have kind of said that, hey, we're hitting the pause on this. We're working on our protections for employers from getting sued from employees and from consumers. So it should be interesting to watch how the politics kind of plays out in all of this. But nonetheless, I'm excited that there's potentially more programs and stimulus available for small businesses and small business owners. And ultimately, that's kind of what we need, is we need to support small businesses and small business owners because they're the backbone of American society. So thank you guys once again. I really appreciate it. One love. Have a good one.